Kaleb Johnson, Charles, didn't have the combine that some of these other guys did, but you watch him play, and that's a pretty damn good running back right there.
Yeah, I like him a lot. Honestly, I think that this could be a diamond in the rough player. I don't think he's going to go in round 1 or maybe not even round 2. But the player that I think of when I watch him is Arian Foster. Like it almost the way that they move to me is kind of uncanny. Especially when Iowa, as they do, get under center and they run like their outside zone stuff. The way that he's able to like he's gliding and setting up blocks at the same time and also being explosive. It really looks like what Arian Foster used to do back when he was at his peak with the Texans, where it never looked like Arian was breaking like one speed, but the way he was able to set things up and glide at the same time. I think Kaleb Johnson has a lot of that to his game. So maybe that's a little bit too high on him. Arian Foster was an undrafted player who ended up having the career that he had. So, you never know with these guys, but when he takes off on outside zone stuff and the way he reads it, and also you have a lot of tangible reps because Iowa does run under center stuff. They are going to butt their head against the wall, which does give you a lot of good looks for offensive line and running back. And I think he had a lot of translatable plays that would suggest that maybe he can continue to do some of that in the NFL. I don't know if he's going to end up being like, a 10-year starter, but hey, I think he could be a starter on a rookie deal for a team that needs help for a running back. Like if you're looking for someone to help take their like outside zone scheme to the next level, I think he's like perfectly suited for that.
Yeah, you said it perfectly there. And I love that Arian Foster comp. And obviously Arian Foster dominated in a heavy outside zone run game with the Houston Texans under Gary Kubiak. So that makes perfect sense there. And yeah, that's the great part about even if watching Iowa football, again, all apologies to Andy Behrens, even if watching Iowa football is not that fun, you do get a lot of translatable pro plays, especially from that running game, because it's under center, it's the heavy outside zone stuff, and he's such a perfect fit there. Like, yeah, is he going to rip off 60, 70-yard runs like maybe a Travion Henderson would or something like that? Is he going to have like, and he was second in terms of these running backs between Ashton Genty and Amarian Hampton, who had 200 carries last year in yards after contact per attempt. He's not necessarily like the same ferocious tackle breaker that a guy like Hampton is, but he's a smart runner who can get the edge and get you some big plays because I think he's got good vision in the outside zone world and stuff like that. We mentioned 2 other teams I've already mentioned in terms of like landing spots, Pittsburgh and Cleveland. If they're getting back to more of that under center running game stuff, they have 2 third-round picks. Like he could be a guy that if they don't go running back early, maybe they add him to the mix in the 3rd round. And like, I'm not saying he's going to be their next Nick Chubb or anything like that, but Nick Chubb was a 2nd-round pick, and he just was their starting running back, and he was one of the best backs in the league at his peak. Again, I'm not saying he's necessarily going to be at that level, but man, he could be like a 3rd-round guy that they just say, hey, throughout the course of your rookie contract, you're kind of like our guiding force on offense because we don't know what the hell we're doing at quarterback right now.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think that's a fair place to have him pegged for his career. I'm starting to look at some of these other teams that maybe could use a running back or could use some running back depth. Maybe this is maybe how Kansas City fixes their running back problem. I don't know. I kind of like that fit. If you can get them, round 2 or probably closer to round 3 for them. But just a kind of a stabilizing force back there. Not the most dynamic running back prospect, I don't think, out there. He's not certainly not like a Saquon Barkley or a Todd Gurley type of character, but still really, really steady. And I think there's just some value in being really, really good at, one style of play that happens to be really big in the NFL right now. So I'm a Kaleb Johnson fan. I'll be tracking where he gets drafted pretty closely because I think in the right situation he could have a big rookie year.
I like that Kansas City fit a lot. They do a lot of different things as a running game, which is fun and obviously makes their run game very diverse. They re-signed Kareem Hunt. Okay, I think we know what that is, but like Isaiah Pacheco, yeah, right. Come on, bro. I can't believe that we spent all last season with the Chiefs being like, my God, they're playing like Kareem Hunt and Juju Smith-Schuster, and they brought those guys back. Like, I'm pretty surprised they just re-signed those guys early in free agency. Like, if you had gotten through training camp, it's like, oh, these rookies that we drafted, maybe it's not working out. Like, they just go ahead and said, yeah, we're gonna probably need those guys back for another run. Like, let's go ahead and bring Juju and Kareem Hunt and these guys back again. I can't believe they let Justin Watson get to Houston. Like, what are we going to do without Justin Watson eating all those snaps and not getting any production? So I would like to see something different from Kansas City in the run game. Pacheco's a nice player, but he's kind of a volatile runner. I feel like Kaleb Johnson, like you're consistently just hitting C+, B- in the run game, which is probably what Kansas City needs. And even like a team like Cincinnati, I mean, I know that they want to add another running back to the mix. I heard Zach Taylor say that at the combine because they don't want to have fantasy players love Chase Brown playing like 90% of the snaps. An NFL team doesn't want Chase Brown playing 90% of the snaps, and they're a very zone-heavy run team as well. They need to kind of get in a world where they can marry their we've been saying this forever about the Bengals, marry their run game and their pass game maybe a little bit better. You take a guy like this, maybe in the third round or something, he could be a potential option there. So I like your suggestion of Kansas City for your guy Kaleb Johnson there.